Strong and dilute. In everyday conversation, they kind of sound like opposites, right? But in a chemistry exam, they mean something very, very specific. And you know what? Confusing them is one of the easiest ways to lose marks. So let's make sure that never happens to you again.
Okay, check this out. This is a real exam question that nails the problem perfectly. It states, dilute hydrochloric acid is a strong acid, and then asks you to explain how an acid can be both strong and dilute. It totally feels like a trick question, doesn't it? I mean, how can something be powerful yet watered down? Let's break it down.
So this is the puzzle we need to solve. And here's the thing. The key isn't just knowing the chemistry, it's understanding that these two words describe completely different things. Once you see that, grabbing both marks on this question becomes, well, pretty simple.
So how do we actually answer this? Well, the secret isn't buried deep in some textbook. It's all about giving the examiners the exact definition they're looking for. We're going to use the official mark scheme as our guide here. Let's see what it says.
First things first, let's tackle the word strong. To lock in that first mark, we need the precise word-for-word definition that the examiners want to see.
And here it is, straight from the horse's mouth. A strong acid is one that is completely ionized when you put it in water. Now, this has nothing to do with how dangerous it is or how much of it you have. It is all about whether every single acid molecule breaks apart to release its hydrogen ions. For a strong acid, the answer is a definite yes. All of them do.
And here's a little pro tip for you. The mark scheme actually gives you some flexibility. So if ionized doesn't pop into your head during the exam, the word dissociated is also totally fine. Completely ionized or fully dissociated, either one will get you the mark. It's always good to have options, right?
Excellent. That's 1 mark in the bag. Now for the second part of the puzzle, the word dilute. And remember, this is a completely separate idea from strength.
Again, we're going directly to the source. The mark scheme tells us dilute simply means there's a small amount of acid per unit volume. This is all about concentration. Think of it like making juice. You can have a tiny bit of concentrate in a huge glass of water. That's what we'd call dilute.
Okay, so now we have the 2 key ingredients. Let's put them together to build that perfect 2-mark answer that smashes the question.
So the full answer is just 2 simple steps. First, you define strong as completely ionized. Second, you define dilute as a small amount of acid per volume. You're literally just stating the 2 separate definitions. And that's it. 2 distinct points, 2 marks secured. Easy peasy.
Now, knowing what to say is half the battle, but knowing what not to say is just as important. There are certain phrases that will actually lose you the marks, even if you also say the right thing. The mark scheme is super specific about these common mistakes.
Okay, this is a huge pitfall. The mark scheme says, do not accept hydrogen is ionizing. It's a really common mistake. See, it's the entire acid molecule that breaks apart, that ionizes. The hydrogen ions are the result of this process. They aren't the thing doing the ionizing. It's a subtle difference, but it's absolutely crucial.
And similarly, you have to avoid saying H+ ions are ionized. This just doesn't make any chemical sense. The H+ ions are the product of ionization. They've already been made. Saying they are ionized is kind of like saying a cake is baking after it's already out of the oven. It shows you don't quite get the process.
So, let's just make this crystal clear. On the left, you've got your mark-winning phrases, completely ionized or fully dissociated. On the right, you have those common errors that you really need to avoid. Just stick to the left column and you'll be on the right track. All right, let's wrap this up by boiling it all down to the most essential takeaway. If you remember just one thing from this whole explainer, make it what's coming up next. So, the crucial point is this. Strength is about the process. It's about ionization, how completely the acid molecules break apart. Concentration, which tells us if an acid is dilute or not, is about the amount. It's about volume, how much of that acid you've actually dissolved in the water. 2 different concepts, 2 different properties.
So yeah, you can absolutely have a strong acid that's dilute. Just think of a single drop of hydrochloric acid in a swimming pool. And you can have a weak acid that's concentrated, like a thick paste of vinegar. It all comes back to separating those 2 definitions. Remembering that strength is about the process of breaking apart, and dilute is about the amount in the water. That is a superpower in your exams. Use it well.